gewesen am meisten mit Toxen. Und wir kommen zu gehen zum Baal Shemte. Und der Baal Hashwonin, der Baal von den Ochsen. Und hat geklagt, gefragt bei Baal Shemte, wo gefunden sich seine Ochsen. Weil Baal Shemte geöffnet das Sefer, das, was der Mann besteht im See. Und hat er guckt und hinweiligt und gesagt, wo gefunden sich seine Ochsen. Danach hat mit Weil gewesen, durch den Mehl, was er ganz in See hat er gesehen, was tut sich mit den Ochsen nicht.
Rabbi Bernard was my rabbi at the Oxford Synagogue in Johannesburg. One day he arrived in my office on I think it was a Thursday afternoon, and he had a pile of x-rays in his hand. He has a major problem. He's got a very sick lady. I'm going to call her Mrs. Levine. The x-rays have been sent to the Rebbe. The Rebbe says not to do the operation. So I said to him, what's the problem? So he said, no, look at the x-rays. Could clearly see that there was a cancer of the kidney at the upper pole of the kidney on the right, big mass. Rabbi Bernard said, well, the Rebbe says that no operation can be done on this lady. And I'm afraid to say, I said, you and the Rebbe, you can't interfere with the medical care of a patient. This is an urgent operation.
Usually the prices of furs go up. That year, prices kept dropping. How do you buy if you buy today and tomorrow it's worth less than you paid yesterday? You're afraid to buy. But without buying, you can't sell. Rabbi Shem Tov, who was a great friend of ours, I told him what the trouble was. He said, simple, ask the Rebbe what to buy. So I said, well, how shall I ask the Rebbe? I mean, what does he know about furs? So he said, tell him what you bought last year. Give a list of what percentage of this and some percentage of that fur and that fur. By return post came a letter from the Rebbe. It doesn't matter what you buy, but sell it in Scotland. I'd never been to Scotland in my life. I had no customers in Scotland whatsoever. And there was a lot of reasons why I was needed in London. So I wrote back the reasons why, letter to the Rebbe, why it's difficult for me to go. So he said he's read all my reasons, nevertheless, and this is the whole letter was one sentence, nevertheless, go to Scotland.
We came to 770 Eastern Parkway, 2 officers of Yavne, and the Rebbe talked to us about what we were doing. At the end, he said, well, I've asked you a lot of questions. Would you like to ask me some questions? And the fellow who was with me said, well, yes. And I hear all kinds of wonder stories about you. I hear that you know better than the doctor whether there should be surgery or not. You know better than the lawyer which way to proceed with a case. Do you know more medicine than the doctors? Do you know more law than the lawyers? I mean, what kind of thing is this? The Rebbe smiled. He said, when a house gets built, the architect draws up a blueprint. He gives the blueprint to the contractor, and then the contractor tells the plumber how to do the plumbing, the mason how to do the masonry, the electrician how to do the electrical work. He said it's not that the contractor can do it better than everybody, but he can read the blueprint, and that's why he can give the instructions. So he said, Hashem istakel ba'oraiso vara alma, the blueprint of the world is the Torah. So somebody can understand Torah, he can tell other people what they have to do within their own métier.
Die Gräßkeit ist, als der nimmt er Rede mehr Agones beteil. Und der Pfarrer hat das geguckt, darf kein sehen. Und wer hat das gesehen, darf kein der Baal Shem Tov. Aber was hat das genutzt, darf man nicht sagen, der Zehn Ainen von Anox. Oder die aber die ganze Ischalkus, was man macht, hat der See ist Achele Kodesh beteil. Und zwischen See und Tor, kein Scheiche, dass Heper von der Mine, was man sagt, als Ruf ist Leilo, gefindt sich in seine Kienwortes und in alle durch Israel. Ich dort nicht der Pschat, gefindt sich in der Teile, was wir lernen dort. Dort in der Pschat, als in der Tor, lässt er start vorne mit dem.
בעלי אברהם בן קשבר, יש לו אמא זקנה שהיא גרה באיראן. הוא רוצה ללכת לבקר אותו. האם אפשר שהוא ייסע לאיראן?
אפשר. I'd like to know your opinion as far as the situation that difficult it is in the change. What should I do as far as continuing investing, change, look for other places?
You postpone the investments until the situation will become more clear.
I have a very big deal.
Very big deal.
Yeah, a real estate. I like the deal, but the timing, the country, and the economy. What is your feeling?
The timing is very good. It's you have the promise of God Almighty. Is in proximity of every Jew. Then catch on this assassination.
Really, I've had an accident and I've got a pin and plate in my leg. I've had two doctors' opinions, but they are both opposite. One says take it out, and one says leave it in and take it out when I feel it should come out. What should I do?
Maybe it would be a good idea to consult an expert in New York.
I set off for Scotland with a big van with the goods. It used to take me 13 and a half hours average it was to get to Glasgow from London. I didn't know who to go to, but there was a fur directory of all the farriers in Britain. Everywhere I went, they said they'd been waiting for a new traveller to come. No new traveller had come since before the war, many years before. And they all bought from me, everyone, wherever I went. They not only bought from me, they sent me to their friends. They phoned up their friends. I'm sending on a new traveller, come, you must buy from him. It was so good. The whole business changed because of it. Everybody bought from me. The Rabbi sent me, so.
לפני שנה הייתי אצל כבודו והתייעצתי איתו על הקמת מפעל בארצות הברית. יש לנו מפעל לציוד ביטחוני. וכבוד הרב יעץ לי לחכות כי המצב לא כל כך טוב. חיכיתי אכן שנה, ובאמת כעת אני מקים, ועצתו עזרה לי מאוד מאוד, שכן אם הייתי מקים אז הייתי שנה מבזבז בלי עבודה. אז אני באמת מודה לכבודו שיעץ לי את העצה הטובה.
Rabbi Bernard said there has to be a major reason why he didn't recommend this operation. So I said, well, let me look at every x-ray. So I took the x-rays and one at a time, I looked at them and you could see the cancer clearly on all the x-rays. And getting near the end of this big pile of x-rays, the bottom I saw Mrs. van der Merwe, almost obscured by the blackness of it. So I said, I'm going to phone the hospital where this x-ray was on this date. And I spoke to the gentleman, the doctor in charge, and I said, on this particular day, how many IVPs did you do? He said 2 in the afternoon, 1 on a Mrs. Levine and 1 on a Mrs. van der Merwe. I said, you've got a serious problem, my friend. You've taken Mrs. van der Merwe's x-rays. You've put them in a folder labeled Mrs. Levine. The x-rays were sent overseas. She asked for religious advice about it, and the advice was not to do the operation. And that was brilliant advice. It has actually saved 3 people. It saved the lady, Mrs. Levine, from an unnecessary operation. It's getting Mrs. van der Merwe the urgent operation that she needs, and it's saving you from a lawsuit.
Der Eische Nivle bei ihm Rischen ist Odom Mabit bei Misef Oilem Aktefe. Rosh in der Elem Kevali Shamish bei Gonze, Eichen Gonze, bei Tero, ist auch die, was lernen Tero, wie sie darf zu sein, die finden da alles in Tero, was sie tut sich Misef Oilem Aktefe.